Hello, welcome to our timeline. Let's start with the Navigation Act of 1650. What is the Navigation Act of 1650? The Navigation Act of 1650 is basically the start of trading between the colonies and England. Why did it happen? This Navigation Act was to restrict Dutch shipping. The Dutch were the biggest competition to England. Dutch threatened to drive English shipping from the seas. I don't know what significance means. Oh well, I'll just continue. Now we move on to the Proclamation of 1763. What and why? After Britain won the 7 Years' War and gained land in North America, it issued the Royal Proclamation of 1763, which prohibited American colonists from settling west of Appalachia. The British issued a proclamation, mainly intended to conciliate the Indians by checking the encroachment of settlers on their lands.
Hello, I am Tooth. Shall we continue? The Currency Act of 1764. The Currency Act forbade the designating of future currency issues as legal tender for public and private debts. The colonies suffered constant shortage of currency and to also effectively control of the colonial currency system. Swallow. We will now talk about the Sugar Act of 1764. Fun fact, sugar equals cavities. What and why? The Sugar Act was aimed for the end of smuggling trade in sugar and molasses from the French and Dutch West Indies. The Sugar Act was the first tax on the American colonies imposed by the British Parliament. Fun fact, Sugar Act is also known as the American Revenue Act. Swallow.
My name is Acid, call me Sid for short. We will now talk about the Stamp Act of 1765. The Stamp Act was a new tax that was imposed on all American colonists and required them to pay a tax on every piece of printed paper they used. In the past, taxes and duties on colonial trade had always been viewed as measures to regulate commerce, not to raise money. Next is the Quartering Act of 1765. The Quartering Act of 1765 required the colonies to house British soldiers in barracks. If it were too small, they could go to local inns, livery stables, etc. The Quartering Act was made because soldiers are maybe tired and need rest. According to Brain Google, the reason why could not be figured out.
I'm back. Where were we at? The Townshend Act of 1767. Don't ask me how I know. What is the Townshend Act? The Townshend Act was a series of laws made by the British government. They placed new taxes, tea, paper, paint, etc., and took some freedoms from the colonists. Why did it happen? It happened because the British didn't have enough money to supply people from the other war that just happened. I'm tired, let's switch.
We will now talk about the Boston Massacre of 1770. What is the Boston Massacre? The Boston Massacre was a street fight between a patriot mob and the British soldiers. Several colonists were killed during this event. Why did it happen? Apparently British soldiers in Boston opened fire on a group of American colonists, killing 5 men. We now talk about the Boston Tea Party of 1773. What is the Boston Tea Party? The Boston Tea Party is a political protest in which the American colonists were frustrated for not getting a say. 342 chests of tea were dumped into the sea. Why did it happen? The colonists weren't too happy about the tea tax that occurred. The colonists didn't want to pay for extra tax for tea.
Nice to meet you, I'm Cupid. We shall now talk about the Intolerable Acts of 1774. What is the Intolerable Act? The Intolerable Acts were punitive laws made by the British government for those who participated in the Boston Tea Party of 1773. This happened to punish Massachusetts colonists for their defiance in the Tea Party protest. Here we have the Lexington and Concord of 1775. What is it and why did it happen? The Lexington and Concord of 1775 is the first Revolutionary War fought in Massachusetts on the 19th of April, 1775. The start of that war was also the start of the Revolutionary War. The British Army set out from Boston to capture rebel leaders, Samuel Adams and John Hancock in Lexington, and to also destroy weapons and ammunition in Concord. The Declaration of Independence, the 4th of July, 1776. What is it? One of the most important documents in the history of the United States. It was an official act taken by all 13 colonies declaring independence from British rule. Why did it happen? The colonists were searching for independence by declaring themselves an independent nation. The American colonists were able to confirm an official alliance with the government of France and obtain French assistance in the war against Great Britain.